Welcome and thank you for joining us here at the Rodney Appleby Experience, where together we can explore the mysteries of music. Without your presence, this will be impossible. I appreciate you tuning in to be part of our program.
Welcome to the Rodney Appleby Experience, broadcasting live every Tuesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. with the one, the only Rodney Appleby. And now, Mr. Rodney Appleby.
So glad you got here. My name is Rodney Appleby, and we're going to be having a lot of fun tonight talking about music speak. Now, some of you may not know what that is. So I'll just give a little brief discussion, a little brief definition about what music speak is. Now, musical language itself is a very broad and vast thing, which involves music notation and music theory, all kinds of aspects of symbols of music. And then there's informal ways of communicating music, which go back to more playful, less technical times, and more felt, seen, heard kind of language. And I'll give a simple example. Back in the day when we were real young, we used to say this little thing: if I can say it, then I can play it. And so we would take time, and not even on the instrument itself, but we would actually learn to say a phrase like say a do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Okay, so we would learn to say that. And now if you can internalize it enough to actually allow it to come out of you, then you can take and translate that now to an instrument. And so the idea of being able to say it is an aspect of music speak that I want to talk about tonight. And it's going to get a little funny, and it's going to get a little crazy. And I have a guest with me tonight, a gentleman who I've been making music with this gentleman. I'm not even going to start telling the stories, because he's going to come in, and some of the things that the path we've taken basically is an interesting path. So I'd like everybody to say good evening to Mr. Reggie Evans, president of Eager Music. Reggie, how you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing good. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me okay on this mic?
I hear you fine. You sound very clean, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, we're using one of those iRig because I had John come down there. I said, listen, man, we can't be running Eager Music and the audio don't sound right.
Say Eager Music and we can't get a good sound, right?
So I said, dude, Rodney called me today, man. We got 1 day's notice. I said, you got to come down and get me right, get this audio. So he came down and hooked up the rig for us. They're using that iRig.
Well, I'm glad you were able to make it, Reg.
Yeah,
it's good to have you here. So having a conversation tonight about music speaking, I was describing a little bit about, that old thing we used to say, if I can say it, then I can play it.
Yeah.
And that kind of evolved into a very powerful communication tool somewhere down the line.
Yeah, so, it was one of those things I used often when I was teaching. I had a lot of drum students back in the day. And they thought it was weird because, they come into the place, and said, we're going to have this drum lessons going. And I said, we're not touching the drums. I said, what? How are you going to teach us? We're not. We're going to sit here. You're going to look at me and you're going to repeat after me. If I can say it, I can play it. Right. And they said, well, these are like 5-6-year-old kids. Okay, well, if I can play it, I can say it. If I can say it, I can play it. I said, exactly. So then I would do what you just did. I go, and I said, no, do that. And they go, now you're playing drums. You don't need the instrument because the drum is here. And once you have it here, it's all about translating it to your muscles, muscle memory, all that stuff. But you got to get the concept there, and and they were amazed. They were shocked. You'd see those little lights go off. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, because when you're playing an instrument, it's not the instrument that's playing anything. It's
right.
you.
Right.
And so something's got to be in there to come on out and make something happen.
It's that audiation thing. You got to get that audiation first in the ear to understand exactly what you want to express on the instrument. It's better if you know what you want to express first and foremost. So it makes sense if you think about it.
Yeah. And it can get deep. And we only have an hour, and this hour is going to fly by. But we're going to try to get into it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're up to these days, and let's have a little conversation about this music speak thing, because you and I have some interesting back and forths with that one.
Okay. So what we've been up to is, like, I've been building eager music for a while. I've this is before all this new age technology and Pro Tools and Logic and all of that stuff. We brought out a lot of analog gear, and I was recording live choirs or doing live concerts, 60, 75 member choirs, 6 or 7, 8-piece rhythm section, complete with B3 organs and Leslie, 2 guitars, bass, a huge set of drums. And then we had the cameras going. So we did this back in old school when we were dragging out a lot of analog equipment, and everything was really heavy and big and large. And the things that we had to do to make that happen was incredible when you compare that to a click of a mouse when you have Logic and Pro Tools and all these different things. So we've been providing those services for different artists, and front of house sound. We provide sound services, PA gear, and all those kinds of things for live events. We're still doing that today, but the gear has changed. And then we're also recording a lot. So we're doing a lot of recording of not only our own original material, but we have other artists that we're working with and producing, and sometimes even creating songs from scratch for other people. So that's what we've been up to. But this music speak thing is very interesting because I've been at this for a lot of years, and this thing has covered the gambit. It's a universal language that really, even if a person is not a musician, anybody can speak this language. If you show them the basics, the fundamentals, any and everybody can make music.
That's funny, because I often would tell people, if you have a voice, you can sing.
Yep.
Now, people associate singing with excellent performing.
That's right.
And I say, come, slow down, everybody. Just slow down.
Exactly.
Just
slow down.
Take a breath.
Yeah.
Singing simply means expressing yourself musically with your vocal mechanism.
Right.
Everyone can do that. Some quite a lot easier than others. Right. Some with a lot more seemingly control than others.
Yes.
But everyone, in fact, can do that. And so it wasn't the kind of thing where I was allowing people to kind of talk themselves into being unable. I would encourage everyone, let's just see what can happen. And as you said, everyone has some level of music in them.
Right. Yeah, they tend to critique themselves right from the very beginning, thinking that they've got to be this great operatic singer or something. Like, no, you just need to make sounds. It doesn't have to be in pitch, in key. We understand, like, professional singers have all of that, but you can make sounds.
And you know what? The fun part of it that I want to talk about tonight, and kind of what this music speak thing is kind of rooted in, and that's just mimicking what you hear,
right.
or just using your mouth, your voice to make whatever sound you think you hear.
So I'm recording myself right now. I just started Logic, so I'm going to do this, talking about that example. And this is a bass line. And as a matter of fact, this bass line kind of reminds me of the way that you play. I'm in key E. So I'm just mimic this bass line.
Hold on, Reg. Okay. The click track is very loud, so I can't really hear the keyboard.
All right, let me stop.
Yeah, the click track is very loud, and it makes the keyboard kind of compress out.
I'll kill the metronome. I didn't know.
So while you're getting that together, music speak again is just pulling together with your voice the kinds of sounds that you want to hear. Right. Like, for example, I often imitate drums. That's what beatboxing was.
Exactly.
A lot of people, there's some people who actually made a career out of beatboxing and sounding quite like drums.
Exactly.
There's other people like, I'm going to say Bobby McFerrin.
Yes.
There was a gentleman that I ran into in Atlanta who actually mimics instruments, upright basses, trumpets, saxophones. He simply mimics the sound of them, and he takes solos in jazz tunes and all kinds of things. He's really quite musically good, and he plays only his voice.
Yes. And so that was my issue. So I do similar to what he's doing, and I guess they call that scat singing. And that's what I'm doing in my mind. I'm actually imitating these instruments I've heard, whether it's a guy playing sax, and you'll even see me doing things with my hands because I'm like, I'm trying to actually imitate that.
Yeah,
sound,
what you
that
just
horn.
did. What you just did. That was very nice, Reggie.
That was Donna Lee.
Don't just blow by that. What you just did was very nice.
That was Donna Lee.
That was some Charlie Parker type scatting.
That was Donna Lee. Hey, so I actually feel that sax in my hands, right?
I see it.
Do that. So with a bass, I do the same thing. I got this thing in E.
Yep, I hear you good.
You hear that, keyboard?
Yep, I can hear you quite well.
Okay, and no more click, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So in E, bridge. I pick the boom bit boom bit a bit but it bit boom boom bit I pick up a boom bit boom bit I pick it boom the bit boom bit I pick up a boom bit boom bit I pop it do bit do do I better little put do 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 bit boom the boom bit the pick up a boom bit boom bit pick up a pick plant, right?
Wow, Reggie. Now, as you're doing that, I got to tell you, I'm sitting here with the bass in my hand.
Right.
And that little piece you did, I could hear.
Right. And but not only did you play the notes that I sang, but you also played, there are percussive things going on in there that almost you could feel the drums in the bass, even though there was no drums present. All those little things. Those little clicks that aren't notes make music, and it'll cause your audience to understand the time, where the pulse is, and all of that because of those little clicks, man, and they're very important.
And as you're describing that to me, you're describing a lot of detail,
right,
with simple vocal noises.
Right.
It makes me think a little bit, Reg. Hold on. It makes me think a little bit about the Xhosa.
Oh yes,
and the South African Bushman tribes that speak with the clicks and ticks in their language. It makes me think of that because I worked with some musicians from that area, and they basically, a lot of information is conveyed in 4 simple little clicks.
Right.
And I did a podcast a bit ago about the permutations, and I used the number 4 to show how many opportunities exist out of simple 4.
Yes.
And then, of course, expanded that out across the number spectrum up to 12.
Which only you can do, by the way. This is not for the weak and faint of heart. This is Rodney Appleby. This is what he does. And every time I talk to him, he's a walking encyclopedia of this stuff, and I learn something new, and he takes me to space every time, and it always makes sense.
Well, just now, as you were actually doing the drums,
Yeah.
It had the sound and the feel of the Kosa speaking.
Okay. Okay.
It actually had that sound and feel of speaking with the clicks and the other sounds in there. So I think it's really interesting how music speak is a language in and of itself.
So now check this out. Where did I get those clicks and pops between my notes? I got that from listening to bass players like you, because if you watch what you're doing, if you slow down what you're doing, if you do some sort of a groove, you're going to put those pops and clicks in there automatically with between your thumb and that finger. And those things are the things that I heard. And I said, okay, if I'm going to reproduce that bass sound that Rodney's doing, I'm going to get those clicks and pops in there. And also what that does, it allows me to say what I'm going to play. So if I go to the drum kit now, let's say you're on the bass, you're playing that thing with those pops and clicks. I'm going to transpose those pops and clicks to certain parts of my drums, like hi-hat, snare, or what have you, in between the actual beat, because I'm picking that up and I'm playing that bass line on the drums. So the drums would end up sounding, if the bass sounded like the drums are going to sound like
now, you know what I'm finding interesting as I'm sitting here watching and listening? I'm looking at your body language.
Yes.
And it's true. When you were thinking sax,
yes,
your body went sax.
Yes, that's right.
When you're thinking bass, your body actually goes bass. Yes. When you're thinking drums, your body actually went drums.
Yes. Yes. And when you teach that to young people, that concept sticks with them, so they know where they are with that instrument, and it helps them to hear better the instruments that are around them. Because I know so many musicians, either pro musicians, sometimes they're not listening to each other. So with me, I never play drums, even though I'm a drummer. When I'm on stage with another band or in a recording studio, I am not playing drums. I'm listening so intently to all those sounds around me that I'm trying to translate what I'm hearing from them and orchestrate it on this instrument that happens to be the drums. That's exactly what I'm doing, which is a different philosophy from drummers who might just play rhythms against the music that's going on around them. I'm actually trying to take what I'm hearing and put it on the drums.
I hear you.
Vocals, bass, keyboards, whatever those sounds are, I'm trying to orchestrate those same sounds on the kit.
So you're actually kind of pointing out another aspect of what music speak actually is. Yes. Music speak is also, for example, like we were just talking about, you went from sax to bass to drums, and your body language literally changes with each instrument you think about.
Yes.
And so knowing how to speak each instrument's language is an aspect and a form of music speak.
Exactly. Yes, sir. Yes, definitely. Totally.
Then there's an aspect of music speak that develops over time where you begin to understand, for example, playing with a particular musician over time, you learn certain nuances and details and subtleties and patterns about that particular musician.
Yes.
And if you hear something different in one way, you know that person is learning and growing.
Right.
If you hear something in a different way, you know there may be something wrong, a technical issue or, something else. And so that's a communication aspect that brings more information into the playing experience with other people, and an aspect of music speak as well.
Big time.
There was an experience you told me about that kind of covered that.
Yeah.
So,
you want me to go into a little bit about it?
Yeah. Why don't you share that with me?
I'm going to share. See, because what I do is I take this approach, and I learned this by playing. First of all, you guys need to know there's a history between Brother Rodney and myself. We really are literally brothers, but different mothers and different fathers, but we're brothers, okay? So we spent a lot of time in rehearsal studios, rehearsal rooms, the basement of my mom's place, working on all those different rhythms, all these different nuances, And I got so used to him that I started reading his spirit. I could read where he was going, what he was thinking. I knew when Rodney was going to turn left before he would turn left because we spent that much time together and we had this musical link. And so what happened was, fast forward, Rodney and I were playing this concert at the, what was that? That was the Traufamador.
It was the Traufamador.
Traufamador Cafe here in Buffalo, New York. The big concert, place was packed. And we were in the middle of this fusion tune. We were playing with a fusion band. And we played that song 100 times. We played fills to get into certain transitions from the A section to the B section, C section, whatever it was on the chart. And Rodney played a fill into one of the transitions for one of the soloists. Might have been a guitar player, sax player. And I played the exact same fill rhythmically, not right down to the pops and clicks. And it was so in tune and so in time. But we were both surprised because he never played that fill. I never played that fill. We just looked at each other like what just happened? I can't believe we've never done this. And it was scary. And that was the first time I understood music speak from another individual through spiritual realm, if need be, because there was no way. We didn't practice this. I didn't know we was going to do it. But you get so united in this realm. So
hold that thought, Reg, because we're going to expound on that when we come back from this little bit break. So don't go away. Hold that thought. We'll be right back, y'all. Is my mic not on?
Greetings. This is Rodney Appleby, host of the Rodney Appleby Experience. To bring you quality programming, interesting guests, and entertaining performances, your support is very important. Donations, large and small, are always welcome. Sponsors are an important part of our ability to provide you the kind of experience you deserve. Please go to 106liveradio.com/Rodney. There, you'll find a link to support the Rodney Appleby Experience. While tuned in on YouTube, please hit the like button and subscribe for alerts and updates. And you can download the 106 Live Radio app to receive notices of upcoming podcasts. And once again, thank you for your support.
.106liveradio.com. Call us now at 404-464-8785.
Broadcasting live from Atlanta while serving the entire globe. It's the fastest growing radio on the web. It's 106liveradio.com.
Ow! Did you know over 2,000 eye injuries occur on the job site every day, and about 1 in 10 of them require missed work days to recover? Of the total amount of work-related eye injuries, 10 to 20% will cause temporary or permanent vision loss in affected employees. And while many people think that eye injuries primarily occur in manufacturing, construction, or trade jobs, nearly 40% of work-related eye injuries occur in offices, healthcare facilities, laboratories, and similar environments. Flying objects, tools, particles, chemicals, and harmful radiation are the causes of most eye injuries, and in many cases, implementing safe work practices and utilizing appropriate personal protective equipment could prevent them entirely. We here at GTG Traffic Signals believes something as simple as putting on a pair of safety glasses can prevent serious eye injuries. These injuries are painful, cause many lost work days, and sometimes lead to permanent vision loss. This message is sponsored by GTG Traffic Signals, located in Marietta, Georgia, reminding you today and year-round, remember to wear your safety glasses. Don E. Miller, licensed professional counselor. He has the formula for wholeness: encourage, empower, educate, enrich. It's called the E effect, and it will change your life. The E effect will empower the individual who may be mentally impaired to get involved in programs to help them live a productive life. These programs, which also enrich those in need by providing education and information, which promotes a high quality of life. For more information, call Don E. Miller at 678-741-5337 or visit the website at www.theeffect.net.
Are you ready to elevate your connections and improve your networking skills? Here, you can take your career, brand, and organization to the next dimension. Networking with Valerie is your passport for personal and professional growth. Tune in every second and fourth Saturday from 11 to 12 p.m. for our networking events. This is the place to build and maintain relationships on 106 R&B and Throwbacks, powered by 106liveradio.com.
Is that a faucet running? That's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest. Forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink.
What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum.
That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe.
I didn't know the trees were so amazing.
Yep, and the forest gives us shade, trees to climb.
That's awesome. Let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does, just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Calling all authors. Do you want to promote your book? Get heard, get seen, make more money. Douglasville Books and 106 Live Radio is now offering promotional packages to create a better audience just for you. 770-949-4363. Douglasville Books, the people's choice.
Download the 106 Live Radio app from your Google Play Store. Or find us on the TuneIn app.
Welcome to the Rodney Appleby Experience, where we see life through the flavors and sounds of music. Make it your purpose to tune in and join us as we set out to explore the mysteries and magic of music. From the mind of Rodney Appleby, demonstrations, concepts, with rhythms and grooves that will soothe your soul. While you're here, call in and be a part of our Let's Talk About It segment as we sit and talk with professionals and beginners alike. And now, here's your host, Mr. Rodney Appleby.
All right, everybody. Just having fun with Reggie, having a little talk about music speak. And we were just discussing music speak as a connection, kind of literally an unspoken connection between musicians who've developed a certain musical relationship, and how that connection seems to kind of unite the energy of the music that they're playing, so that as they're involved in that one musical task, it almost seems like they're operating as one.
Yes.
And I remember feeling that a lot of times with Reggie, and having a very interesting experience with the music, almost feeling as if we were being carried along. It wasn't so much what we were doing as much as we had kind of jumped into the current and was being carried along some kind of way.
We were being musically voluntold.
Yeah, I know. We were being drawn under by the what do you call it, the undertow.
Because I would look at you and you look at me, I'm like, man, how did that happen? But what I found out was that for me, that was foundational to my whole music career, doing that with you, because then I was able to go in and tap into other musicians in that way. And what happens is, when that happens between two or more musicians, when they get in lockstep like that, no matter what they're playing, it doesn't matter what genre of music, it doesn't matter if it's a recording studio session or a live show, it makes the whole band sound so much tighter, because these guys are they're like a bunch of soldiers in lockstep, being carried along, like you said. It's pretty amazing when it happens.
Yeah, with everyone in their place in their time, doing their part, it seems to leave no room for anything to even fall apart, even if a mistake is made.
That's right. Even if there's mistakes. That's right. Exactly right.
Some of those mistakes turn out to be things you wish you could keep.
Right.
or things you wish you could have thought of,
because it felt, it was the feeling of it as opposed to being a perfect note or whatever. But I'm under the understanding now that I'm not really sure there are wrong notes. I think it's about how we perceive all these
Reggie,
different things.
I'm going to talk about music speak in a little bit of a different aspect.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about music speak as a way of communicating musical ideas to one another.
Okay.
So here I am, a bass player, okay? And let's say, can you hear that pretty good?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So this groove is going on, and let's say I'm playing. Okay, say I'm playing something like that.
Yeah.
Now, eventually I'm going to make a transition.
Right.
And it's going to go somewhere else, right?
Right.
So let's say I'm going. Okay, so let's say I take it there, right?
Yeah.
I remember working on that piece of music with you.
Yes.
And we were on our way to the Trout to go play.
Yeah.
And you had said to me, I can never make us or feel like I'm making a smooth transition there with you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of something to do, trying to feel the right thing to do, and it's just not coming to me, right? And so, almost without missing a beat, almost like I didn't listen to you, but I heard you, I just leaned over and said this to you. I said,
and I never forgot it. All these years, that lick, I've used that lick in a lot of different recordings and different things, man. It goes into everything, but I needed it specifically for that tune because in that transition that I was talking about from your A section to your B section, you hit this thing went, you did this thing. And I'm like, I needed something to match whatever that thing he just did. And when you sang it to me, we went into the club that night and played it, and it worked out perfect. I've been using it ever since.
and I laugh because I listened to the sound. I mean, the sounds we made. Right.
Blakatuka. You gotta have the blakatuka. That's coming across the toms, man. That the brukatuka.
The brukatuka.
And you're doing like a sort of a simple sort of a what they call it's not like a press roll on the drums, it's like a ratamacue on the snare drum first. You know what I mean? You're going across those. But when you said that like that to a drummer, I knew exactly what that was and which drums that was. You know what I mean?
And so when I think about that kind of thing, I can imagine now imagine trying to take the time to sit down with a piece of manuscript.
Oh no. Oh man.
Put a time signature on it.
Yep.
A tempo marking.
Yep.
And begin writing that rhythm out.
Yes.
And then, once written, have the other person read it back and then try to coordinate that what was written and what was understood in what was writing matches up with what was thought.
Yeah.
That's a lot of steps.
It seems a lot more complicated, doesn't it?
But when I just turn to you and say,
I knew exactly what it was. I didn't need a chart. I knew exactly where to go because I think you're right. That's that music speak that doesn't get categorized in that whole scientific traditional way of communicating music. So if you got these classically trained musicians like the violinists and cello players and all those different that they've gone to these conservatories, everything is meticulously written out. And when you try to get some of those folks to improvise outside of those notes that are written, they can't. They are playing exactly what's written on that page, right down to the nuances in between notes and spaces and dynamics, all of that as it's written. And so I guess that's another way how music can be communicated. But the way that you're talking was a natural way, which I believe if they weren't trained through that institution, they probably would be able to pick that up as easily as you communicated that to me.
I do believe that some musical training, some, has more of an effect of creating the illusion that there's something right and there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Usually in music, there's something that was intended and something that was not intended.
Yes.
But it's very difficult to categorize any of the unintended things as wrong as much as it is unexpected. That's not what I was expecting to hear. So by not expecting to hear it, it seems out of place.
Right. So how I understood that, and I'm going to confirm exactly what you're saying, because that is so true. And I saw a documentary, just a short documentary, or part of the documentary, and it was Herbie Hancock. They were interviewing Herbie Hancock. Herbie was on stage with Miles Davis, and he was playing this tune that they played 100 times before. And somehow, Herbie had the chart right in front of him. He said somehow his hand fell on the keyboard, and it was just the wrong chord. There was no ifs, ands, and buts around. He just hit the wrong chord. But Miles took and heard that chord, switched up the modal situation he was playing on his trumpet, and made Herbie's chord work throughout the piece, even though the bass player still had what he had on the chart. And Herbie found out right at that point that there is no right and wrong. It's how we perceive it and how we're able to get in there and manipulate where that is and utilize that unintended sound to make it sound like it was intended. And that's what Miles showed him. He said he learned a brilliant lesson just from that experience. I was like, wow, I was blown away.
Now, in context of music speak, when a musician can hear things move like that,
right,
that musician speaks a different dialect of music than, say, the classically trained musician who hears things through the filters of right and wrong, appropriate and inappropriate, can and can't, should and shouldn't. That's an entirely different orientation to try to process music, a creative experience.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with that. Yep. Yeah.
So when Miles basically said, oh, wait, that's a different sound. Let me hear what that's actually saying. And then he found it on the instrument.
He turned it around, yeah. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. And it says a lot about one's ability to see, hear, and understand inside of things.
Right. Just like with us, like we're having a conversation right now. You're saying something, I say something, we take a pause, you say something. So we're having this conversation. But in our human-to-human conversations, there are things that you can say and not say, and yet you're still communicating something to me, even if you didn't say the words. And I think it's the same thing in music. So if you say to me, man, Reg, you shouldn't have done that, your body language might say, but I really done what you did. You might be saying, you shouldn't have done that, Reg. You know what I'm saying? Your body language is sending me a different language. And that's the same thing that Miles did. It's like, you probably shouldn't have done that, but I really dug it. So I'm going to turn it. You know what I mean? And you're right. That's another form of music speak. But you got to have this musician who's sensitive enough to hear that, understand that it's not wrong, but hey, maybe there's an opportunity for creativity.
Right, an opportunity
to come through. Yep, that's a different way to look at it.
So one asked the question: is music speak something you learn, or is it something you're untaught? Or is it something that we fail to pay attention to as an actual valid tool? Like, I know I put a lot on that.
That's a wonderful question, though, man. That is a great question. So for me, I think I don't know if you can teach that. I'm not going to say no, you can't teach it, but I know for me, I always believe I'm not expecting or require anybody to believe as I believe, but because of the songs that I've written, and I can't even say that I've written, I think I've plagiarized everything that has come originally through this vessel. because I feel like somebody gave me those notes and I just brought them down here and made them tangible. Because I'm telling you, man, then when these things come through me, I feel like I'm channeling whatever those notes are, right? And so, because I'm like in tune with that, if I become in tune with another musician, I'm using all of that, but I don't know if anybody taught me. I've remembered having this experience and this gift since I was 3 years old. So I don't know if you can teach it. I don't remember ever teaching it, but I do remember getting my drum students to say and play. Say this, blah do 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 blah do 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 blah do 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 blah, and they go blah do 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 blah do do do, and by the time we get to the drums, blah do 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 blah do 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 blah do 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 blah, right? And then we start playing things together, and then there are things I didn't teach them, but because I showed them that you could play or say what you play, they started picking up the things that I wasn't playing and interpreting that. So did I teach it? I don't know. Can it be taught? I'm not sure. But I will tell you, it's a beautiful experience if you can experience that. You know, to communicate music on that level. If I answered that question.
Oh yeah. And here's the other thing too. We're covering different levels and aspects of music speak and how it plays out in the interaction of among musicians playing music. I was able to communicate a very clear musical idea to you through music speak.
Right.
You communicated with me too this one time when we were on stage together, and there was some technical things going on. I think a cymbal was falling and all of this other stuff was going on. And you always wondered, how did I know? Or like, how did I just know? Because as everything kind of seemed to fall apart, I basically caught a cymbal. I continued to play.
Yeah, you caught it, put it back, and never missed the downbeat. Yeah. It was like, but you was like, it happened so fast. Because for the audience, the drums were on a riser. I'm on a drum riser. And all of our cymbal stands, and one of the cymbal stands was near the edge of the riser, near where Rodney was standing. He had his plate bass, and here comes this cymbal stand falling in his direction, but he's playing and he's in really deep concentration, and all of a sudden he sees this. I don't know if he saw it. He felt that cymbal stand coming without a beat, without missing a beat. Had his left hand finished playing the phrase on the bass, put the cymbal stand back, made sure that all legs were on the riser, and came back down with his thumb and still caught the one with my bass drum. I don't know how he did it. It's one of those things, man. It's intuitive.
Well, I'll be honest with you. As long ago as that was, I can tell you quite clearly that when things are technically going wrong, I know you as a player, and so certain sounds don't make sense. And so as the cymbal was moving, making its own sounds that wasn't within what you play. It was an alarm, an alert that like, wait, what's going on? And all I needed was some periphery.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And I was able to see what was going on because it was right there.
So now let's talk about what you just said there, because what you just said is magical. So when you're talking about this music speak, and we're talking about maybe whatever the connection is, spiritual or otherwise, you were sensitive enough to know the sounds that usually come from this person that you contacted, you have some sort of musical contact with.
Yeah.
Sensitive enough to know when something's not right. And that means that the musician needs to be open to those kinds of things, to not be so rigid and in their own place, staying in that lane, but being open to these other things.
Yeah.
And that allows you to make that connection with those other musicians. I think that's what you're getting at, I think.
I am. And I'm saying the just music speak involves a certain level, as you said, a connection.
Yeah.
And that connection develops a certain kind of reliability that musicians have with one another. And that allows, at least for me, it allowed me to be able to hear that there was something that was not part of the plan going on. It wasn't expected. And so, it may look like I didn't even turn around,
It did. It did look like you didn't turn around. Yes.
It may look like I didn't turn around, but remember, I'm hearing it, not seeing it.
That's right.
I'm hearing it, and it's over this shoulder.
Yes.
And so I'm basically responding to the sound, not the sight.
Got it. Okay. Yep.
And it was alerted to me because it was out of the ordinary.
Yes.
So that's another aspect of music speak. Listen, there's something that you did. Now I gotta hit you back, like you said earlier. I did that little and
Right.
you never forgot it. Well,
I never forgot it.
you did something similar to me. You called me up out of nowhere talking about you got this bass line you want me to play.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right. I haven't played it. So you probably have to play it for me because now I don't forgot it.
And you started scatting it to me in basically bass speak.
Yeah, it was.
And I'm listening to the notes, and I can actually feel, as I'm listening to you say it, I can literally feel the line in my hands. I could actually feel myself playing the line.
Okay, so now let me try to explain what happened.
Crazy.
So that bass line, this is what I was saying, that I think maybe I'm plagiarizing because I was half asleep, man, and that line came to me. I guess I was between REM sleep or something else, and I had to hurry up and get to my phone and record it in the voice message so I wouldn't forget it, right? But when that bass line came to me, I actually saw your fingers because you use this technique where you have the thumb and you curl this the first finger and maybe the second finger, and you're picking these strings between the thumb and the finger. I actually saw that right hand when these notes were playing, and I could actually see them as they were moving across the bass, right? Across those 4 or 5 strings and the ticks in between. And so when I sang that to you, I sang it based on what I saw in that vision or dream, whatever it was. And I said, Rodney, this song is written for you, man. And I gave it the title with your name in it because I said, no one has ever inspired me with a bass where I could actually see who's playing it. And I only know one guy that uses that technique, and that was you. That's how that came about.
Is that what you saw?
Okay, play it, yeah. Now play that for me again so I can hear that bass a little bit better.
Of course, I'm going to give it some bass.
Of course, okay.
I mean, some drums.
Okay.
So now, the hand you was talking about, the right hand.
Yes.
Ready?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
All right, listen, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, Reg,
yeah,
let's mess around with that a little bit, because now that you've got it stuck in my head, we might as well play with it.
All right.
We'll be right back.
Okay.
Gotta believe in something. You got to believe in something.
Broadcasting live from Atlanta while serving the entire globe. It's the fastest growing radio on the web. It's 106liveradio.com.
Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and be sure to tell everyone else.
Ladies and gentlemen.
About 106liveradio.com.
The Male Perspective is partially or in part sponsored by Contact Electrical Services, LLC, servicing all your residential and commercial electrical needs throughout the metro Atlanta area. And remember that without Contact, you don't have power. Give us a call at 678-698-1101. Reach out to Contact Electrical Services today.
it's your girl Queen.
It's your girl Nene.
And if you want to hear your song played right here on the Bridge Club Crew playlist every first Thursday of each month,
all you have to do is submit your music to the bridgeclubcrew@gmail.com. Powered by 106liveradio.com.
Looking to get away, relax your mind, or take a short trip to your favorite destination? Then book your next trip with Love Travels. With Love Travels, your next trip or vacation will be an enjoyable one. No trip is too large or too small. Love Travels specializes in wine tours, land vacations, and cruises. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, not many people could book a vacation, but at Love Travels, you can now book your next vacation or trip with us. Contact Tilda Love for a consultation and booking information at 404-981-7457 or email at lovetravels590@gmail.com. At Love Travels, we love vacations.
Worried about your friend but don't know how to reach out?
You could say, how are you, or get a fake tattoo. You could ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat with them in VR. It's all good if you think you should check in. Yeah, you should.
Whatever gets you talking.
Reach out to a friend about their mental health.
Whatever gets you talking.
Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
106 Live Radio is broadcasting live from Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States to a global audience. Our radio station has a prominent international presence, which has grown to over 185 countries and is still growing. We stand behind our experienced on-air personalities and DJs to deliver clean and up-to-date content, which will leave a positive impact on all communities that we serve.
106liveradio.com. Call us now at 404-464-8785.
From the mind of Rodney Appleby.
Through demonstrations and concepts, you're invited inside my mind to experience rhythms and grooves that I believe will soothe your soul. Call us on air here at 404-464-8785.
From the mind of Rodney Appleby. Broadcasting live from Atlanta every Tuesday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Meet us right here on 106 R&B and Throwbacks, powered by 106liveradio.com. And now, here is your host, Mr. Rodney Appleby.
All right, I'm just sitting here having a ball messing around with that little bass line that Reggie Music spoke to me some time ago. I'm just sitting here having a ball with it, Reggie.
Okay.
Actually, when I'm listening to it now, there's what I call the essentials, which are the notes and the rhythm.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay,
yeah.
So those are the essentials.
Yes.
Those are the absolute essentials. No fills, no nothing. That's the line, right?
Yes.
And then there's the essentials with some of the unspoken groove put on it.
Yeah.
And it sounds a little bit like this. It says, let's see.
Okay, now stop. So what happens in there, even though you're playing that bass, I could still hear the drums coming across the bass because of those unspoken clicks and things and spaces and breaths you put in there. And they were
because the essentials remain.
All those things are in there. And so when we play those together between drums and bass, it gives any rhythm section the glue.
I know, automatic glue.
Automatic glue.
Automatic glue. Now, there's the bass line, kind of loosely adhered to.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So it would be like. So again, music speak turns out to be a language that can actually convey a lot of musical detail with little effort in a way that a particular musician, a bass player, a drummer, or someone could really quickly grab onto.
Yes. So now here's what a lot of musicians miss, and I'm talking pro musicians, not just beginners. I'm talking about people who've been at this for a while. When I when I talk about not listening to music speak from the other musicians on the stage, when we're playing these clicks and pops and things that are not notes between bass and drums, there are sometimes we play it and we stop together. So you might hear right where that would right. Some people like to play through that space, like a guitar player might do something or a keyboard player. But if we stop, that might leave room for some other answer. So if we go right where we stop, you can put that guitar in there. And it leaves the space for that ching all by itself. So it's imperative that you and me play that space because we're listening and communicating with the guitar, answering. So me and Rodney we were laying down the first sentence. Then we stop and pause because we got a period after the sentence. And then the guitarist goes, "Oh yeah, I get it." That's where he responds.
It's like a form of call and response.
Yes, but you say this sentence and I go, "Yeah, I got you, man." Right? I didn't say much, but I'm letting you know I understood. The guitar comes back in saying, he's answering. And a lot of the cats play through this. So now he's supposed to do this by himself, but then the horn player played something, the conga player played something, and then, the organ player played something. I'm like, y'all took his space away. You got to listen. You have to listen. Yeah.
And again, now you've hit one of those, like the top note of music speak.
Yeah.
What is the key of anything being spoken? There's got to be someone to listen.
Somebody's got to listen. Because the reason that's important. So, okay, this is what I learned, and this is the jazz cats that taught me this, because they used to really pound on me about dynamics and understanding what was going on musically. So let's say there's a singer up front, and she's singing this beautiful melody. All right, but before she sings, we as a band, we might do a big intro. So that intro might be pretty boisterous up front. But you best believe when she goes up to that mic and gets ready to sing that first verse, some people say, "Reg, you got to hit the drum, man, hit the snare, and bring the band down." Like, I'm not supposed to do nothing. Every last one of us is supposed to come down to get ready for that verse, period.
Absolutely.
Dynamic
musical responsibility.
Or what happens is now this singer is singing, and you got a guitar player that's noodling or a sax player that's noodling all over her melody. You ain't supposed to be playing there, man. If anything, you should be playing a little bit in spaces around her. But if you're listening, now you're crowding the melody. So what are you saying to the audience? Two people are talking at the same time. We don't know. We can't really hear the conversation because y'all are just talking over each other.
Hey, Reg, listen, our hour just blew by like that. Let me ask you something. You think we can do this one more time?
Yeah, I think we should. Yeah.
We should do this. Let's pick up where we left off.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. I'll give you a call and we'll make it happen.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
Thank y'all so much for tuning in. And remember, music speak is that other side of communication and music that might tell you more than you think. Thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all enjoy and take care of each other.
God bless everybody. Thank you. Thanks, Rod.
Peace, Reg.
All right now.
It's about love.
Teach us all about love, yeah. Help us with love. Show us how to love. Touch every part of us. Deep down in every heart of us. Flowing through in everything we do. Bring joy where there's pain. Turn loss into gain.